Right, hello BYU Cougar fans. Welcome to the Blue Cougar Football podcast called BYU Football, What's on My Mind. And just again to reiterate what the podcast is all about, it's additional information, additional thoughts and ideas, and just anything about BYU football that either don't have time or just doesn't fit into a story for the website. So this is not all-inclusive. Go to the website, you'll get a lot more in-depth coverage of BYU football, and this is just really to supplement and to just to complete the coverage that we provide here at Blue Cougar Football. And there's a lot of new stuff up this week, a lot of great stuff, like 5 great storylines to follow for tonight's game. That's right, it's game night. Hey, let's go Cougars. Let's get that sour taste of losing out of our mouth and get on a roll. But then again, that might be overshadowed by these rumors I'm hearing about Cody Hoffman being suspended, possible honor code violation, and boy, I hope that's not true. Really, not what the program needs right now. Not what we need as fans. What we need is just for the rest of the year to finish strong, to be a good year for us, and not have any more of this nonsense. Let's just play the games and let's win. Speaking of playing the games, I've been thinking about this week a couple players. Will they play? Jamal Williams, we all know his status. Will he play today? Is he 100% healthy? That was very scary, and yeah, I would really like to see, as much as I love watching Jamal play, and for the sake of his legacy, I'd love to see him not miss any games if he doesn't have to. But you got to think about the kid's life, thinking about his future, and if we don't need him, I would rather not play him. Especially I'd like to see someone else get a chance, like Hine. I know whenever he's been in there, he's kind of botched things up a bit, but I'd like to think that with a little more experience, he'll do better, and because he's really got the potential to be another Jamal Williams for us. Big playmaker, game changer. And the other player I've been wondering, will he play or not, is Badger. Kid from Timpview High School, transferred from Notre Dame, and NCAA ruled that he'd be eligible immediately. So I don't know all the details around the situation. It sounds like he plays safety, and I'm not sure though if having him play this year would be such a great idea. Burn a year of eligibility if he still has that redshirt year available, because we got some great safeties. Daniel Sorensen, Greg Bills, and just the whole timing of it, he'd only really get in a half year of valuable contributions. So I don't know. Then again, thinking about the whole Joe Sampson story, he came in, he made an impact pretty quick. I know he was late to join the team, but by this game, the UCF game in 2011, game 4, he started making some big plays. And he had a nice impact that his first season here. Really helped add to the defense. Great role player. So I don't know. Of course, it's up to the coaches, and I think they'll know what's best to do. Seeing how they'll be in practice every day, they'll see how good he really is and how he just might contribute. Now, going back to Hine for a minute here. 3 games in a row. Big return called back. It reminds me of an ESPN 30 for 30 film that I saw. The best that never was, or the greatest that never was. That was about Marcus Dupree, running back from Oklahoma. Well, he's from Mississippi, played for Oklahoma, then never turned out to be too much in the pros. But anyways, I could go on about how I think, anyways, that the best that never was doesn't really fit his story, because he had at least one really good season in college, and he made it to the pros and earned a couple of paychecks. Could have bought some nice paychecks, Could have bought himself a home and get himself, set up financially. So I'm not exactly sure why they called him the best that never was. But he definitely fits the category the best that never was. 3 games, 3 huge kickoff returns, including one returned over 100 yards for a touchdown. But none of them count. None of it is going into the record books. It's like it never happened because of those penalties. So, I just find it amazing. Really tough luck for this kid. He's just a sophomore, so he's got some time left. But I'd really like to see him catch a break here, get a big play somehow, whether it's at running back or on special teams. Because he's working hard. He's working hard in practice, and he's definitely waited his time. Missed most of last year with injuries, and served his mission and stuff. So would love to see it happen for the guy. You probably heard about the Spencer Hadley story on SI.com, Sports Illustrated, from the same guy who wrote The System, the same guy who's a member of the church, friends with Mitt Romney, wrote a book about him during the presidential campaign. And all I want to add to it is, I know some people, the truth is, and I agree that Hadley's the one to blame here. He brought this upon himself and upon the team. And so there's a certain amount of accountability and everything that he needs to go for, and it kind of feels wrong. We don't want to glorify what's happening afterwards, but at the same time, he's human and he deserves a second chance, just like we all deserve second chances. And so I like that the story was written, especially written in a positive vein, because so many times we just hear the beginning of the story about the mistakes people made, and then we don't give equal coverage to the good things that happen afterwards, the growth that comes, the changes that are made. And so that's why I think it's a good story. I'm glad that it was run. But let's not confuse it that we are pardoning him for what he did and everything. That's not the case, but we don't want to hang him out to dry like we so often do with people who get coverage and publicity for one bad stunt. And I'd also like to add, I think it's great that BYU's got a guy like Benedict in the press with a major outlet like Sports Illustrated, because all the major programs do, and that's why they are the major programs. They're the big name schools. It's not just the money that they have, it's the influence and power in the media that they have. They've all got people in their corners, always singing their praises and making them, making us believe that they're more, that they're this superior group, superior team. And we talk a lot about BYU going to the next step, going to the next level as independent, and honestly, that's part of it, is having friends in the national media, people who will promote you, people who will point out the good things going on and keep your name in front of people, and give that impression to everyone that you matter. And that's really what it takes. And so I'm glad that he's doing this, that he put BYU in his book, The System, that he's wrote those stories about Ziggy Ansah last year, and that he wrote this story about Hadley now. And it's amazing because he's not even a BYU alum, if I understand right, because he did say that, the BYU-Utah game that he went to last year was the first one that he's ever been to. Speaking of good press, positive coverage, ESPNU road trip came to BYU last week. I know a lot of people don't have ESPNU, so let me just I'll recap it for you here. It was a really good program, really positive. I really liked it. There were some things I would have done differently. I'll point those things out. And if you missed it, it looks like on YouTube they've got some bonus clips, if not the full-length feature. YouTube.com/ESPNU Road Trip is where you can find those. But it starts off with the host and hostess of the show. They meet with Bronco down by his office and hop on his Harley. He takes them up to the stadium, and Bronco rides on his Harley with the female host, the hostess, on the back of his Harley, and the host, he has to go up on a scooter. And Bronco was just cracking jokes left and right about him, and like he should be out on his paper route or something with that little scooter, and that was fun. That was fun to see. And yeah, he took them to the stadium, and they talked a little bit about BYU and the stadium and everything. And then they did a feature on Bronson Kafusi in the Marriott Center. Talked about how he played basketball last winter as a two-sport star, and spoke with his wife as well. Talked about the Kafusi family and all their influence, and also how his wife is a member of the soccer team. They did a feature on Thursday's Hero, which was really nice. In fact, it ended up getting BYU some bonus coverage the next day on College Football Daily, another ESPN program. They did a whole interview with Bronco about Thursday's Hero. The only problem I had with that part was they didn't really get into much about who the Thursday Hero was. They showed him on camera quite a bit. They didn't say his name. They didn't say why he was the Thursday Hero. They mentioned that all the Thursday Heroes have some significant life challenge, but I thought it would have been good if they said, this is who it is this week, and this is his story. He's got this disease, or he's got this dysfunctionality or whatever. That would have been, I think that would have really helped to highlight the program and what it's really all about, and that would really catch a lot of people's attention more. During that, though, they asked Kyle Van Noy a few questions about the Thursday Hero program, and KVN's sporting a beard. I don't know what that's all about. I don't know if things have changed there at BYU about having beards, but yeah, he's got more than a day or two of stubble on his face, and so not sure what that's all about, if that's even permissible at BYU. If Bronco has him running some extra laps or something every day as a form of discipline for breaking the honor code. Every day that he has that, I don't know. But I thought that was interesting to see. Okay, after Thursday's Hero, they went on the golf course with Lavelle and Robbie Bosco. They talked about how the stadium was named after Lavelle, but they didn't really give very much information about why he was so legendary that they named the stadium after him. Robbie Bosco, he explained that Lavelle had won over 100 games in the 1980s, which had only been done by a couple of teams ever in the history of college football. But Lavelle's done so much more than that. He did so much more than that to get his name up on the stadium there. It just didn't do justice to Lavelle. And as far as Bosco goes, they didn't talk about how he won a national championship. He was a national champion in college, and they totally brushed over that. So that was a little disappointing. Next up was a fishing trip up the Provo River in Provo Canyon with Taysom Hill. They featured some tailgating, although nobody. And that was actually, the tailgating segment was really interesting, because they made it look like we have a real tailgating atmosphere, almost comparable to everyone else in the country. In fact, the hostess of the show, she said, "This is the best tailgate food she's ever had on doing this job, going around from school to school. So I'm wondering how serious she was about that, and if by best she meant the healthiest or something, because that sounds really surprising. Here we are, we're the quote-unquote worst tailgaters in the nation, but here is where she gets the best food. So, wow. And there's some game footage, of course. Except for the Utes scoring plays, there was pretty much only BYU highlights. So that was nice, even though we lost the game, to see that. But all around, I enjoyed having that coverage for BYU, and thought it was really nice and really well done. Again, you can watch some clips of it, get a feel for what it was like on YouTube, youtube.com/ESPNU Road Trip. And moving on, just a couple other things. Going back to the rivalry, honestly, I think, a lot of BYU fans, they like to talk about how Utah fans base their whole identity on the rivalry and on hating BYU. But to be honest with you, I think BYU needs this break in the rivalry more than Utah does. Fans, coaches, players, because this is getting way into our psyche, or into our minds. The fact that we're losing to Utah every year, and that is just bumming out our season. We need 2 years without the Utes to just fully embrace our program and see everything that we're about. Let's not finish the year and say, well, it was a good year, but if only we had beaten Utah. And so I think it'll be great for us to have that 2-year break, not look at defining the season at all on how the Utah game goes. Even if we finished, 12-1, but we lost to Utah, we'd still say, well, gosh, the Utes still got that on us, even though they finished with a losing record or whatever, even though they finished last in their division in the Pac-12. So I think that would be very good for us. And then in 2016, we can just approach that game like any other game and hopefully beat them. Have it not be such a psychological matter for us. Okay, one last thing on my mind. I don't know if anyone else has noticed. I got my first taste of Travis Wilson during the Utah game there, and someone else, another quarterback who's making his mark this year is the Florida State quarterback. I think it's Jameis Winston is how you pronounce his name. He's playing really well. And Wilson, he played a pretty good game. He seems to be the real deal. But they both were in the Elite 11 competition with BYU's own Tanner Mangum. And as we all know, Tanner Mangum, he was the MVP of the Elite 11 camp there. So gets me thinking and hoping and wondering, so if these guys are this good, how good's Mangum going to be? Because theoretically, he's better than both these guys. So, hey, he's on his mission now, but 2 years, I don't know. Let's see what can happen, huh? Let's see what he does here. That's getting very exciting. So, that's what I got for now. I know it was a little bit longer today, but hey, that's what it's about. Sometimes it's long, sometimes it's short. If I got a lot on my mind, if I don't. But hey, it's BYU football. We can talk about this forever. It's never too much. So, can't wait for the game tonight. I think we're going to bounce back and win. And nothing else to say but go Cougars.